Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to share with you an unfortunate experience that I had when I was a senior in high school regarding two IEP meetings. Now, for those who have never heard of an IEP or don't know what an IEP is, IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan, and it is a plan that is created for students who have a disability. Now, just to be clear, I have never had a disability in my life. Unfortunately, my mom had this belief ever since I was born that I did. On March 18th, 2022, I had an IEP meeting the day after my 18th birthday. I had just turned 18. At around 11:01 a.m., my IEP meeting began. My IEP supervisor, Miss Roberta.Alvarez, interrupted me during one of my classes and informed me that I was having this meeting, which I didn't even know was taking place. I did not initiate this IEP meeting. My mom did. In fact, I don't even know if a student can initiate an IEP meeting or if that is something that only parents can do, regardless of whether the student is a legal adult. So as I was leaving the classroom and was walking to the conference room in the library that was next to Mr. Recchio, the library clerk's desk, it is this big arc. My mom had texted me wanting me to join a FaceTime with her and getting frustrated and losing her patience with me because I didn't start it. It started at the moment she sent it because I was walking with Miss Alvarez to the conference room so that we could start the meeting, and I responded to my mom to make a phone call instead. Here are the text messages of our conversation. So eventually, she made the call and just in the nick of time when the meeting had started. I put her on speakerphone and put my phone close to the middle of the table so everyone could hear. Now, there were 5 people in my IEP meeting, excluding my mom, who was not physically present, Senior Assistant Principal Timothy Pannett, person in charge of my IEP, Roberta Alvarez, School Counselor kourtney.mcgraw, and English teacher Sarah.breiding, and me. Now, before I get into what transpired at the IEP meeting, let me tell you the background of me and what I was doing that led to my mom having these two IEP meetings my senior year. So jumping back to my junior year, and this was the point in my life when I went from working mode into learning mode. This was a point in my life when I was interested in some of the subjects at school, particularly Spanish. Now, what happened junior year does include the IEP meetings my senior year, and that is a topic for another video. But suffice it to say that I was interested in some subjects, studying those subjects, and hence learning those subjects: civics, math, and a little English, and some more Spanish on the side, even though I wasn't taking Spanish classes, but mainly civics. All of this during my senior year, and my mom did not like that. She did not like that because the very fact that I was studying these things, and as a result, I was not doing most of, but not all, of my schoolwork. Now, this is a very important detail as I continue. All right, so during the IEP meeting, my mom was talking, and she was doing most of the talking, and she was talking about stuff that was not important until she said, and I quote, "My grade does not mean anything." Everyone in the room heard that, and at the moment she said it, everyone in the room heard that, and the moment that she said those words, my school counselor, Mrs. McGraw, started to get mad and closing her fingers to make fists and shaking. When she said those words, they gave off the idea that I had said those words when I didn't. that I had a conversation with her at home in which I said those words, which I didn't. Now, she was correct when she said that my grade does not mean anything, because it doesn't. It doesn't amount to anything. It does not reflect knowledge of the subject. What it does reflect is work. Nobody else did anything except for Mrs. McGraw in the first IEP meeting. Now, once the first IEP meeting was over, everyone left except for Miss Alvarez. Miss Alvarez asked me about my AP psychology exam that I took my junior year that I didn't do very well on, and I told her that. She seemed to think that this had anything to do with what I was doing. A couple of days passed after the first IEP meeting, and nobody who was present during the IEP meeting, excluding Sarah.Breiding, who was my 9th grade English teacher, who was for whatever reason present in my IEP meeting, my senior year, 12th grade, bothered to approach me or contact me to figure out what exactly my intentions were, so that they can have all, not most of the facts of my, they can have all, not most of the facts of my situation, so that the same people, but not all, could make the proper decision. That would have led to a positive outcome for everyone involved in my situation, but most importantly for me, the student. Except for Miss Alvarez. Now, don't construe this as her getting the facts, because she didn't do that either. Miss Alvarez approached me while I was working on an assignment in the library on one of the computers with papers in her hand and a clipboard, and started asking me questions like, quote, "What is your favorite color?" This had nothing to do with gathering the facts of my situation, and she seemed to be more concerned about getting information that she may have been required to get, but was not concerned about asking me questions about my intentions and trying to make sure that I have a voice. I would have told her that I'm interested in these subjects and I'm learning them, and I'm doing the bare minimum to pass and graduate. She could have used that information to dispel my mom's concern. Miss Alvarez and my mom had communicated with each other via text and phone concerning my behavior about me doing my schoolwork. My mom had a phone call with Miss Alvarez and started to get upset and said, quote, "I am not going to treat him like he is 3. And Miss Alvarez just, nodded and, made. All right. So after that's after the first meeting and the events after the first meeting. On April 26, 2022, at around 12:51 p.m., I had the second IEP meeting, and during the second IEP meeting, once again interrupted from class, except this time I was taken to the room next to Spanish teacher Morgan Rackacott's classroom. And I think it was a special education room, it was a meeting room, but it was a special education room. In the second IEP meeting, the same people were present, excluding my counselor, Kourtney.mcgraw, but she was replaced with high school English teacher Carla Stone, who I have never had as an English teacher through my 4 years in high school. This time, instead of using my phone, Miss Alvarez used her phone to put my mom on. When I sat down, Miss Stone looked at me and also looked at an assignment that I brought with me that I had work on it. She smiled at me, giving this feeling that I am not mad at you, I like you, and I don't view you negatively, when that was the exact opposite. The discussion started, and my mom was talking, and then Miss Stone answered some questions from my mom, like, what is her name? And just talking because she was familiar with her, Then eventually my mom started to mention my grade in math class and the missing assignments that I had. My principal, Mr. Pannett, heard this and said to my mom, what do you expect out of him, and what do you want me to do to him? To which my mom replied, quote, "I just want him to graduate." Mr. Pannett was ready to punish me instead of allowing me to say anything to hopefully clear things up and give him the facts of my situation, because God forbid I may have a legitimate reason for my actions. That I was simply studying and learning things that I cared about, and I was doing and I was doing and making sure that I was going to pass all of my classes and that I wasn't going to fail any of my classes, which was the whole point of these meetings. That was the only leverage that they thought they had. Towards the end of the meeting, after my mom hung up, everyone went around and signed my IEP papers. When the IEP papers came to me, Miss Alvarez attempted to coerce me into signing my IEP papers once everyone else had signed them. Miss Alvarez did not violate my rights under IDEA, but she did make the following comment after I read and signed them, quote, "He's an overachiever." Both Miss Alvarez and Mr. Pannett were a little scared of me over the fact that I knew my rights, but I was nothing but calm and collected throughout both of my IEP meetings. Instead of signing immediately, I simply wanted to read it and then I was going to sign it. Mr. Pannett then started to talk to me about the missing assignments in my math class and asked if I was going to get those done. He wanted to intimidate me into doing my schoolwork, all because he thought that I wasn't doing any of my schoolwork and that I was going to fail and not graduate. I complied and responded with a simple yes, because I did not want to get punished because he can't do his job. He smiled at me and said, quote, "Well, we have to get our stuff done." I asked if I could be dismissed. I was, and left the meeting and went back to class or to my next class if the bell rang. So this is really ridiculous how you can have people who just fail to do their jobs and can't gather the facts of a situation when they're dealing with a student who their mom has a problem with, or whatever the situation was. In my case, all I was doing was learning and studying things and doing the bare minimum to pass my classes because I was interested in whatever it is that I was interested in. Some of the classes that were offered at my high school that were offered at my high school, which is, suffice it to say, a little unusual for some students. But I was interested in them, and I was making sure that I was going to pass them. I was doing the bare minimum to pass. My school actually gave all of us students little grade calculators, semester calculators, so that we could input what our grades are going to be in a first set of, in one set of 9 weeks, and then in another set of 9 weeks, and then calculate the grade so that you can get your semester grade, which is what matters. That's what's going to determine whether or not you fail or pass. And I absolutely played with that thing. I got it. It was on Google Sheets and whatnot, and I made sure I played with that thing, and I inputted all grade letters, even if it was the most obvious thing, like what would this amount to? F, F. I didn't care. I just wanted to do whatever I needed to do to barely pass all of my classes and be interested in the things that I was doing. Now, there were some classes that I had that I didn't care about, and I did the work in those classes. And so one could argue that I had certain higher grades in those classes. So, you might be asking yourself if I've done anything about this, if I've gone to the school and maybe filed some complaints, and I have. And I have some right here. So this is the complaint on Roberta.Alvarez. Yeah. I'm not going to read any of this stuff to you because I pretty much explained most of it in what we just talked about. But this is a complaint on Roberta.Alvarez. All right, you see that? And all of these, yeah, I filed complaints on absolutely everybody except Sarah Breiding. She didn't do anything. Yeah. And all of these employees violated the West Virginia Code, the West Virginia School Employee Code of Conduct, which I was actually digging. I actually had to take quite some time to find online, because it's not like the State Department of Education makes things crystal clear, especially when it comes to rules and regulations like their own policy or own code of conduct that government employees have to follow. So this is the West Virginia Code, Employee Code of Conduct for all school employees, public school employees, right here. Okay, yeah, this is West Virginia Code Regulation 126-162-4, Employee Code of Conduct. Employee shall include all school personnel employed by a county board of education, whether employed on a regular full-time basis or otherwise, and shall include other personnel such as employees of the West Virginia Schools for the Deaf and Blind and all employees of West Virginia Department of Education institutional programs. All West Virginia school employees shall exhibit professional behavior by showing positive examples of preparedness, communication, fairness, punctuality, attendance, language, and appearance. Contribute, cooperate, and participate in creating an environment in which all employees, students are accepted and are provided the opportunity to achieve at the highest levels in all areas of development. Maintain a safe and healthy environment free from harassment, intimidation, bullying, substance abuse, and or violence, and free from bias and discrimination. Create a culture of caring through understanding and support. Immediately intervene in any code of conduct violation that has a negative impact on students in a manner that preserves confidentiality and the dignity of each person. Demonstrate responsible citizenship by maintaining a high standard of conduct, self-control, and moral ethical behavior. And comply with all federal and West Virginia laws, policies, regulations, and procedures. And all of these employees violated this regulation. They violated the West Virginia's Employee Code of Conduct. They violated this. So, yeah. And then we're going to talk about some other things as well. Well, I almost forgot about this. I did get some accountability out of this because I submitted my complaints to the Brooke County Board of Education, and I got this letter, I think, yeah, I got this letter a month after I submitted my complaints, and it's this. So it's right here. You can read that. Yep, and it says, Dear Mr. Hamlin, thank you for meeting with me in October to discuss your concerns regarding staff members from your IEP meetings in the spring of 2022. We have placed these letters in the employee's file. I do not believe there is anything else we need from you at this time. If you ever need to talk with someone, please call and make an appointment. Thank you, Brittany Garrison, Director of Special Education. So, yep, and I actually made some FOIA requests for some of the information, not all the information of all the school employees that were involved in this, but I made some FOIA requests for some of these people. This is all the information for school teacher Sarah Breiding. She actually no longer works at Brooke County Schools. She now works at Ohio County Schools. And I made a FOIA request for that information via email, and they got back to me, and I made this FOIA request in December of last year, and this is interesting. They didn't actually give me all the information that I asked for, even though all of the information that I asked for was completely public, but suffice it to say, I'm not going to court for that because I can't actually go to court where this information is held, which is in Ohio County. So yeah, so this is Miss Sarah Breiding's, again, my former ninth grade English teacher at Brooke High School. This is her contract of employment, terms of employment. Yep, I'll just show you that. There we go. Yep. Oh, and again, I'll leave all of this stuff in the description. If you can't read it on camera, which I'm pretty sure most of you probably can't, but I'll leave absolutely all of this in the description so you can read it for yourself. But yeah, they've got benefits like optical insurance, social security, dental insurance, medical insurance, retirement. Yeah, all of this. All of this is public information. Title, she's an English language arts teacher. She reports to the principal. And her job goal, to teach students so that they can learn subject matter and skills that will contribute to their development as mature, able, and responsible men and women. All right, this is her qualifications. Valid West Virginia teaching certificate in English or comprehensive language arts, 5 through 12 preferred. Experience is preferred. And it has a strong background in writing skills and demonstrates language skills through written work. Well, actually, excuse me. This is her. This is the qualifications for the for her to be a teacher. Options of the job. Yep. Yeah, this is her certification as a teacher to teach English. And this is her, and she gets paid a salary of $54,470. That's actually pretty shocking for a school teacher. You would think that she would actually make less than that, but I'm assuming that there's probably a very good reason for this. And it's not because, you know, so. For a substitute teacher. Yep. And notify Brittany Garrison. And this is Mr. Pannett's freedom of information. He no longer actually works at Brooke High School as an assistant principal anymore. He now moved. After I graduated, he now moved all the way down to Florida, and now he works at Lake County schools at the high school over there. And this is his information. All right, I'm not gonna go. I don't want to make this video super long, so I'm just going to. This is his contract. There you go. This is contract. And it's continuing his contract. There we go. Transfer, certification, profile, all grade levels. What was what I wanted to tell you? He has 32 years of teaching experience. Yeah, he wasn't just, not all principals actually just, become principals and not actually know anything about being a teacher. A lot of principals actually become teachers and then they decide to become principals, have a higher position in education or whatever. All right, what was it? All right, and now this is what I wanted to tell you. This is actually the reason why he wanted to go to Florida in the first place. I wish to relocate to Central Florida to support my family members who live here and establish a home in which to retire later in life. All right, that's interesting. Yep. Yep, he has his bachelor's degree from Bethany College in mathematics. And he has his master's degree from Franciscan University of Steubenville in educational administration. Okay. A lot of stuff here. All right, well, Hi. Little side note, I also talked to my mom about these events and how they affected me 2 or 3 times, and she said that she was sorry, but I didn't believe her because I had a tough time articulating these events like I'm able to do for you guys. But now I accept her apology for the fourth time because now I know she actually means it. Okay, back to the video. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for today's video. If you feel the need to peacefully petition your grievances regarding this incident that has happened to me, that would be much appreciated. I thank you. If you want to petition your grievances to the people, I will leave contact information down below, and you can contact them regarding what happened to me, and that would be really appreciated. Thank you.